This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 436 for the week of Monday, September 19th, 2016. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And my name is Alex.
Alex, welcome to your official first episode as a host of the One Piece Podcast. How does it feel?
It feels about the same.
That's the last time I'm going to ask you that, because hosts don't get to tell us how they feel every week.
Well, hold on. I actually did prepare a speech.
Okay, please.
17 years ago.
I want to welcome our guests for this week on the show. First, as always, we have a very special guest, translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump, Stephen Paul, with us. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, guys. It's a bold new world. There's no more Kochikame. Very strange.
We'll definitely be talking about that a little bit later. But it's been 200 volumes in how many years?
40 years.
40 years, so that's insane. We also have with us the animation director for Rick and Morty, Bryan Newton. How's it going, Bryan?
It's going alright. I am also gonna miss Kochikame.
Have you been reading it?
No, but it's just always been like a staple. So, like, I equate him to like the Japanese Beetle Bailey.
There you go.
That's accurate.
And finally, we have brand manager, the statistician for Crunchyroll. I don't know if that's a technical title, but straight from Annie Twitter, we have Miles Thomas. Hey, how's it going, Miles?
It's going pretty well. One Piece is one-piecing, and I'm happy to piece back together with all of you.
It's always nice to have you on. It's always nice to have you back on. And before we get into the show, I want to also announce that we have a lot of new members of our One Piece Podcast website crew. And I think this is as good a time as any to let everyone know. I want to welcome our editors, Jason and Thomas, editorial writers, Michael, Ashwin, and Eden, and news reporter, Alex. So I want to thank them all for coming on the staff, and we're really excited to see what they all put together. And speaking of editorials, next month, we're going to try this. Let's see if it works and does not destroy our website forever. We're going to try a politics month for the One Piece Podcast leading into the American election on November 8th.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good God.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll see how that works, or if that works. So keep an eye on OnePiecePodcast.com for that. We also mentioned this last week, but we have an insane amount of guests. Miles is one of our first on this week.
Woo!
Next week on September 26th, we're going to have Minovsky, who has been very highly requested, coming off his 10-month One Piece binge. I'm super excited to have him on, talk a little bit One Piece. I'm sure a little bit of Urasawa and some other stuff. And mostly Mr. Tubon Clay. We also have, also from Crunchyroll, Miles, we have Nate coming on October 3rd.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who he is?
Nate is a customer support lead. He's a super guy, and we talk about One Piece all the time, so it only makes sense he'd come to you guys too.
Exactly. I see him constantly on my feed. I'm like, I got to ask him to come on the show and talk a little bit about One Piece with us. We're going to have a lot of really cool stuff from New York Comic Con the following week, including talking with the guys at Shonen Jump. We have the wrestler ACH coming on October 17th. I think Ed is probably the person who can most appropriately express feelings about that.
He's one of the best junior heavyweight wrestlers in the world right now. He just got off a great run in the Pro Wrestling Noah Junior Tag League, and he's also performing in Ring of Honor lately. So check him out. He might be on TV where you are.
And the following week, we're going to have, on October 24th, we're going to have Funimation's God's Will. That is his name, and it's an awesome name. And on Halloween, the plan is to air our Matsuricon One Piece Cast Tells All special. That includes the ADR director Mike McFarlane, the voice of Luffy, the voice of Zoro, the voice of Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, Brook, Crocodile, and Boa Hancock. All will be on that. So that's pretty awesome. Make sure to listen in on October 31st. Also, there was a lot of really cool news over the last week, including some that involved Crunchyroll. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it since we had our Matsuricon stuff last week. But Funimation and Crunchyroll are in a bit of a partnership. Miles, from what you know, what can people expect from that?
What people can expect from this, Oh yeah, of course. This is really big news. Anime is going to be a lot more accessible in a lot more places. We're going to be working together instead of against each other, which is kind of nice. So Crunchyroll is going to become the home of all subbed anime. So over time, Funimation's subtitled content will be moving to Crunchyroll, and Funimation's going to get all of our shows to start dubbing them. So like they're going to start with simul dubs of like Mob Psycho 100 and Orange and 91 Days soon, and it just means that more people in more places are going to have a lot more access. And without all the fighting, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to bring anime to people.
And I think
so. Does that mean that Mr. Osamatsu is going to be getting a dub as well?
If there's enough demand for it, that's on Funimation at that point, right?
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
And I think someone mentioned. I think someone mentioned on Twitter that the biggest benefactors of this are voice actors who now have all of Crunchyroll's library potentially to draw from as well. And it's really and it's really, really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these shows that we couldn't since I have Crunchyroll subbed. I know, Ed, you have a Funimation, so you get to see them dubbed and subbed. So that's really cool. Speaking of Funimation, they apparently have the Heart of Gold TV special. Crunchyroll already has it if you'd like to watch that sub. It came out.
It really bodes well for the future prospects for Film Gold.
Yeah, it came out in a really interesting fashion. You could check out how that news broke on our website. Thank you, Dallas Local News, essentially.
We also did a review on it. We also did a review last episode.
Yes, and there was a review that Brian, thank you, and Sam and Jill and Valkyrie, Caroline, I think is her name, yes, all did on last week's episode, so check that out as well. And Funimation is reaching the time skip in the dub at the end of this year, so that's pretty cool as well.
Crazy!
It is crazy. With all of that out of the way, I want to get into today's episode. We're going to be talking about manga chapter 839, dubbed by Steve Yurko, who is not on today's show, as his favorite chapter of the year. So we will be seeing if his opinion is valid or not.
That's what you get for working, Steve.
And we also have our Piece Together segment. So why don't we get started? You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome to the Dude and Zach's Dance Carnival, a segment on the One Piece podcast where we talk about music, more specifically the music of One Piece. And today we're doing the much long-awaited review of the One Piece Film Gold soundtrack. I'm especially excited about this because this has been, for me, the first... this has been a very good year for One Piece background music.
Well, we should introduce... We also have a guest with us, Steve, on our Dude and Zach's Dance Carnival. Hey, Steve.
Go.
The way you use it's I almost sound like you were referring to Alex as Steve. It's like we also have a guest, Steve. It's Steve.
It's Steve. Yes, friend of the show, Steve Yurko.
Yeah, just a friend now.
Just a friend.
So yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about this album?
Yeah, so this album is long AF, as kids are saying these days, and it's the soundtrack to Film Gold. It's not composed by Koei Tanaka. Shock and awe. This is actually the first One Piece film album that's not composed by Mr. Tanaka, but rather composed by a Mr. Yuki Hayashi. He composed all the songs in the album, with the exception being, of course, the first track, which is Golden Jive, which is composed by Mayumi Kojima, which we talked about on the show a whole lot.
This track so much.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in a moment, but a little background on Yuki Hayashi. He has done a variety of anime soundtracks, including My Hero Academia, and he's done a variety of other movies too, actually. And it looks like I have not heard of any of these movies. But
he's done movies.
He's done movies. But hey, My Hero Academia, that's a thing, right? That's a fun
It's a good show.
Cool.
Yeah.
And of course, one more track on the album is Glim Spanky's Ikari wo Kureyo, which is the other theme song of the movie itself.
Also great song. We'll talk about that, I guess, at the end.
Sure. So, I don't know. Shall we get started?
Seems like a good idea.
We shall.
Let's shout. And we have a lot of tracks to cover here. Like I said, there are 2 discs worth. The first disc boasts 23 tracks. The second disc boasts 36 tracks. And I've narrowed down a good chunk of my favorites. The first track, of course, we'll be talking about is Golden Jive Silver Ocean, composed by Mayumi Kojima. This song is super long. It's by a vast margin the longest song on this particular album, but I wouldn't call it overlong. It's a big band style, which is much of this soundtrack, and it's great. It makes me want to dance. So mission accomplished, Kojima-san. I think at the when she was pinned to do a song for the next One Piece film, she says, "I'm going to write a song that will make the Straw Hat Pirates dance." So there you go.
She also made us dance.
Yes.
Yes, this song really caught me by surprise.
Yeah. You can hear it in the trailers for the movie if you've watched the trailers. At around 4:55, 4 minutes 55, like I said, this is a very, very, very dense track. At 4:55 is a theme that gets revisited later on in the album. And then about a minute later, it's surf rock. So in one song, you have some big band stuff. You got some surf rock. Like this complete track encapsulates what's great about the album in one particular song. There's so many varied styles, which is something that's completely atypical of One Piece, and it stands on its own legs without compromise.
I'd say this album's worth it for this track. That's how much I like this track.
Yeah, I'd say it's like, I would call it probably, there's so much that goes into it that's probably just, yeah, it's worth it.
What's next?
If you gave me like all night, I would just listen to this song all night.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm going to talk about tracks 2 and 3 right off the bat because they are they flow seamless into one another. Track 2, which is called Boarding, which flows right into track 3, which is called Baccarat Appears. Baccarat is a character in the movie. So yeah, these two pieces are companions to one another. Boarding is classic OP style island reveal type music, and it eases into one of very many jazz tracks that can't help but remind me of Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, these are so Yoko Kanno kind of Cowboy Bebop tracks, which is the highest praise I could give an anime soundtrack.
Yes. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Coming off of that, we go right into track 4. Welcome to the Gran Tesoro, which is very video game casino bonus game music to me.
It starts out like a Cowboy Bebop soundtrack too.
Sure. Well, like most of this music is going to be big band music.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of like, I don't know, like the Headshot Casino music or
Oh God, I'm so glad I'm not alone.
yeah.
I was listening to a lot of the soundtrack. I'm like, a lot of this sounds like a Dreamcast game.
It really does, which is actually a really good compliment. I'd say.
Yeah.
Dreamcast, one of the greatest video game consoles ever made. We're going completely chronologically here. Track 5 is Funky White Suit.
Hey, ready to roll. We all dressed up and we're ready to go. Hey, ready to roll.
It's got some funky organ and sax, and it's got very minimal English lyrics, which also chalk it up to, Cowboy Bebop nostalgia.
I love this track. And it's kind of English, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I think it's pronounced quite all right.
It sounds like a non-native speaker, I'll put it that way.
Well, this song sounds like when you roll into the place with your boys.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone wearing their suits, everyone straighten out their ties. All right, let's walk really slowly.
That's right. Yeah,
That's what the song sounds like.
Yeah, let's roll into the club. Tracks 6 and 7, respectively, are called Golden Slave and Golden Emperor, which despite not being big band music, it's still not, One Piece typical. And I of course, attribute to the fact that Hayashi-san is the one composing the music, so it's not your average One Piece background music, and it's quite nice. It's exposition music more than anything, I think.
Yeah, but it's also really good exposition music.
It is. It's like Golden Emperor in particular is very somber. And then halfway through gets a little more serious. It does a really cool thing around 1:30. Some fun guitar. So I was just giving you a chance to listen. All right, track number 9 is the next one we'll be talking about. Hot Shell. Really awesome surf rock big band music combo. From what I understand, this is from the Wacky Racers sequence in the movie. There's a big there's a race that's very similar to Wacky Racers. It's this
song sounds like Surfin' Safari.
It kind of is.
Reservoir Dogs-ish or Pulp Fiction-ish. It's surf rock, but then it has really great horn stuff, some really sweet harmonica bits, and it increases it the harmonica bits are around around 250, 240, somewhere around there. And there are some melodies in this track that get brought up again once or twice later on in the album. But this is a cool track because it really builds up, and you feel like it's a race. The tension increases, and then it finishes off kind of nice with some really funky, cool, really great piano bar.
So, next track I want to talk about is the very next track, is track 10 on the first disc, called Racking Up Wins. And it just makes me want to say, it's Saturday Night Live with Monkey D. Luffy,
A piece of toast.
Garma Narnard, and Bobby Moynihan. But it's very G.E. Smith and the Saturday Night Live band.
Yeah.
The next track I kind of want to talk about is this track is track 16, and it's called
I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised you don't want to talk about VIP Room, which was what I described as the porno music.
Now we gotta talk about it.
Yeah, VIP Room. VIP Room is track 11, and yeah, this is funky One Piece porno music. Listen to it while you're reading your hentai doujinshi. Why not?
What's next?
Track 16 is Cat Brigler and Vixen, which of course is referring to Nami and Karina, who I understand have some sort of history in the movie. This track is so cool and mellow. And it sounds like music from the show Steven Universe, especially when you get like 30 seconds in, maybe like 20 seconds in. Super funky and mellow.
Also, it sounds like Weather Channel music too.
A little bit, yeah.
Now you're local weather in the 8s.
Like already we're knee deep into just like, what? This is a One Piece movie? Which is really funny because I was listening to this album in my car, and a friend of mine was like, "Is this One Piece?" I'm like, "Yes."
So, what's the next track you want to talk about?
17, Wild Cow. AKA Firefly music.
Yes, that's exactly what this is.
It's a basically, Wild West string section. You get some banjo and some fun Western guitar. How can you not like it?
Track 21's the next one?
Yeah, this is probably my favorite track. I think it would make an amazing loop. It's called Making Plans. I love how understated the piano is, and they bring it to the orchestra hit. And it's all very brief, but I can't really put my finger on what it reminds me of, other than like this would make an amazing loop for like maybe an Avalanche's song or something like that.
And finally, track 23 on disc 1.
23, War Council. This is, well, I hate to keep bringing back the Cowboy Bebop comparison, but
yeah.
It starts off with some really great clarinet, and it brings back a melody from Golden Jive. Around like 40 seconds.
It's definitely one of my favorite tracks on this album. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorite.
Well, we established that Golden Jive is your favorite.
I think it is,
but,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's everybody's favorite.
Yeah. So I'd like to move on to disc 2. And we'll start
B.
off with the first track, disc 2.
Please
side B.
Side B, yes.
Let's turn to side B for Heart Racing Spy Gear. This has a really, really, really awesome bass line, and vibraphone action. Super mellow. I'd say it evokes a heist-esque shenanigan. And really, really, really picks up pace towards the end. Track 2 on disc 2 is called Sudden Trap, and I can't describe this as anything else but Metal Gear music, like when you're sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
Twin Snakes,
Huh?
Sons of Liberty style soundtrack for those that are speaking my language.
That's right. Track 4, called Intruder Spotted, and this is straight out of a Lupin movie.
Oh yeah. Which, by the way, Part 4 has an amazing soundtrack as well. For those who haven't listened
yeah.
to that.
Oh god, yeah. It's basically organ with a little bit of a funky guitar mixed in. I'd say this entire soundtrack could work in a Lupin movie, actually.
Oh yeah.
It's the horns and stuff. It's so Lupin, it's so Sega Dreamcast. I think it's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this album. It's good stuff.
What about track 6? Yeah.
Track 6, yeah. Looming Crisis. This is something that you're not like. This is the kind of music that I normally would have a problem with in a One Piece movie, but I describe it as music from the Mortal Kombat movie.
I was about to say, like, oh, and here's a track from the Blade soundtrack.
Yeah, it's like house music, but I kind of like it. Like that do like.
Isn't this dubstep?
I don't think, no, it's not dubstep, but it's house music. It's sweaty. Let's have a martial arts fight music. Track number 19 is called Impossible Situation. Another bebop-esque track, but it's so funky. A lot of horn and bass. How can you not love it?
Oh, such a good track. Mm-hmm. When I said the first was my favorite, that does not mean I don't love the hell out of the rest of this album. It's a great album.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Right after that is track 20, which is The Ultimate Entertainment. So it's more the same kind of stuff. Starts off with a really awesome bass riff.
This starts and it sounds like City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
It's the Dreamcast.
As I was going to say, is that another Dreamcast reference?
And if you keep chugging along, it borrows a few melodies from earlier on in the movie, and you can tell that this has got to be some sort of a fight music or something. Maybe? I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Hard to gauge.
Well, The Ultimate Entertainment, I know he says in English at the end of the trailer, to Sara. So I assume
it's his thing. It's what he does.
That's what he does.
Track 25, it's called The Power to Stand Up, and it has a more inspirational feel, which is very, very much, way more typical for a One Piece soundtrack. And I mean, I can't talk about a One Piece movie soundtrack without actually talking about music that sounds like it belongs in One Piece. And it kind of reminds me of something like this is the One Piece version of Chariots of Fire. I can almost see them running out in slow motion.
Oh God, yeah.
It's definitely the most One Piece-y song on the
Yes.
soundtrack. Yeah.
It is, and I really love it. Like this new guy, Hayashi-san. He really brought something new to the One Piece BGM catalog with this. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. The last BGM track that I'd like to talk about is track 31 on disc 2. It's called Great Turnaround. And it sounds like the most anime-y out of all the tracks. It's very final boss music. It amps me up. It really does. But it reminds me of just like, this is very typical for like, do the last attack.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
And he does, probably.
Well, there's another track called Last Battle, so I don't know. But yeah, this is a very sweet track. I'd like to mention that there's some bamboo flute around closer to the 3-minute mark, which leads me to believe that this is part of Zoro's fight. So the last track I guess we'll talk about is the very last track on the album, Ikari wo Kureo by Glim Spanky. Which is the de facto theme song for the movie, the vocal theme.
Which I really like.
Yeah, no, it's great. I like.
It's a change from Avril Lavigne.
I, for the record, didn't mind the Avril Lavigne.
No,
stuff,
it wasn't bad.
Yeah. It's weird enough. I was about to say it's like Nickelback. You can't admit that you like it.
No. Nickelback, no one does actually like.
No one does. Or Creed.
I don't like this either. But no, I like Glim Spanky's sound. Regrettably, only the short version is on this album, which is fine. They needed room for all the other tracks, so.
Long soundtrack.
So that's it. That's at least what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more on the soundtrack. I completely recommend picking this thing up. It can be found wherever your Japanese import goods are sold. CD Japan, they probably sell it on Right Stuff, right?
I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure you can find it. It's on iTunes, I know.
It's on Japanese iTunes. It's on Amazon.jp. So if you have access to that, but I usually recommend CD Japan for this kind of stuff. I would give this album a 10 out of 10. It's fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's wonderful, and I hope that not to discredit Koei Tanaka's like brilliant compositions, but I hope that that Hayashi comes back to do more One Piece music in the future, because this was a really awesome change of pace, and I really can't wait to see this in conjunction with the movie and put everything into context. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Steve, for joining us for this segment.
Of course. I'm glad I got to share a little bit of my opinions and reference the Sega Dreamcast a whole bunch.
That's right. Well, everybody loves the Dreamcast. It just turned 20 years old the other day.
Well, it died a long time ago. So.
Well, that too. All right, well, that's been it for Dude and Zach's Dance Carnival. I've been the Dude.
And I'm Zach.
And keep on dancing.
This is the manga recap for chapter 839. I owe you my life. Ed, I do. What's going on the front page here?
Well, it looks like Kankichi Ryotsu has been captured.
Or at least he's wanted.
Oh, they're painting over his wanted poster, so I assume...
Yeah, I assume that means he's done.
Well, the insignia that they are drawing there is the
McDonald's
as you can see,
logo, yes, of course.
Yes, the McDonald's logo. No, it's the signature, unibrow look that Ryo-san has, where it connects in the middle and it kind of fades out on the sides. But there is some interesting stuff here. You may notice that, for example, the numbers at the bottom for his bounty are kind of random looking, right? Well, if you turn it upside down and you look at the numbers upside down, now we've talked about this before, but Oda likes to use these sort of number games because it's easy to kind of replicate to use numbers in the place of Japanese characters to send little secret messages. And here you'll notice, okay, so if you read it backwards, it goes 110. 596 and then a bunch of zeros. So first of all, 110 is the police code number. So if you dial 110 into your phone in Japan, that calls the police.
Yeah, don't try that here or anywhere else.
No.
Yeah, that won't work.
This is just in Japan. And the 596 part. Now you may remember when Oda did his Naruto tribute cover. Kind of odd that he did one for Naruto and Kochikame, but I don't remember one for Bleach.
There was. Because Bleach isn't really over.
So yeah, you may remember he had a hidden message in the Naruto one that was like Otsukare-san Naruto or Naruto Otsukare-san or something like that, which is basically like, okay, take it easy Naruto, or enjoy your breaks. Essentially, it's a formality. And in this case, he wrote 596, which would be Go, Ku, and Do. So Gokudo. And when you say to someone like Gokuro-sama or Gokuro-san, that makes that it's kind of the same thing. The nuance is slightly different, but it's essentially the same sentiment. Okay, so take a load off. Kochikame, he's basically saying, but it's interesting because he just says Gokuro, and I guess if you count the zeros, it's like Gokuro, but it should be Gokuro-san. And so I don't know, where is the san? Like, can you find the san in this picture?
I don't know, Dr. Hibbert.
I was going for Steve from Blue's Clues, but
I don't know. It's my job.
Here's a question. Now, is this just because we're observant readers on purpose? But is are Oda's number hints something that casual readers would get?
In Japan, yeah, you would have to be thinking, or you'd have to be thinking about it, but it's not something that is unique to Oda. It's just something that he likes to do a lot, and so you will see it happen a lot.
I wonder if it would be like if an author wrote like the calculator thing, boobs.
Oh yeah,
it's right.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
It's a similar.
So we talked, I think, a little bit about Kochikame last week. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to say? It's just celebrated its 40th anniversary and its conclusion after 40 years.
Well, for listeners who don't know what Kochikame is, a little bit of an explanation is probably needed. It holds the world record, I think, for the longest running serialized manga series.
Yeah, it just received the Guinness World Record, I think, a week or two ago, for the longest running one series.
It's a gag manga, and as long as I've been into One Piece, I'm pretty sure it has held that title of being the longest running.
Actually, I don't think he's ever taken a hiatus, from what I've heard.
That's correct.
In all 40 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
And then you compare Hunter. I'm sorry.
Or Berserk. Berserk would be a good one.
Ed, Berserk's an excellent example.
Ed, do you happen to have the comment Oda made this week in front of you, or anyone? Because
I don't have it in front of me at the.
All right, well,
I can pull it up. Here it is. Oda's comment: "I could cry. Akimoto Sensei is free. He's free!" Multiple exclamation points.
I think Oda's savoring for the day in 3 decades where he could say that about himself.
Oda's fantasizing.
I think with that we can move on into the chapter. Ed, start with this 2-page spread.
Sure. We start off the chapter exterior of the Germa castle. So Ichiji and Niji are being congratulated for their nice work out there. You might say that war-torn Brock Cully was just another victim of the fall of Doflamingo's rule. And we see that it's Judge who is speaking. And he continues, his side that could no longer acquire weapons sought our strength in its place, rather than sticking to the policy of suppression. And if we just skip ahead just a little bit to the blatant Nazi imagery in the Germa kingdom.
Well,
the Thunderbolts, the SS bolts, and the Iron Eagle.
Yeah,
So-
if those banners are red, it's game over.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this is that it's actually not a thinly veiled homage to the Nazi insignia. What it is a thinly veiled homage to the Shocker insignia from Kamen Rider, the Sentai show, which is itself, like Hydra, a thinly veiled homage to Nazi insignia.
But the SS bolts are pretty obvious. That's definitely shuffle.
Well, if you do a
And
Google
the-
image
and the
search,
eagle.
if you do a Google image search of Shocker Kamen Rider, you will see the eagle insignia and the skull thing and the lightning bolts and all of that. So yeah, it's pretty clearly that he's okay. All right, the bad guys in Kamen Rider, for example, they have like an evil organization. They have their own like the clan, the Foot Clan sort of thing. So
They even do a
he
Nazi
went up
salute. They do like
Yeah.
a Nazi-esque salute as well, and they have skull masks.
To be fair, they also
Well-
do that salute and impel down. From what
Well,
I
at least they're the bad guys. It's just at least they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
But continuing on,
they're also all
Reiju said-
blonde, probably blue, or who even knows? We just assume that. Go ahead.
Don't leave me with the Germans.
Reiju continues, half-hearted kindness only leads to more suffering, and this is the perfect example. Is that Ichiji with the
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, who cares about the reason why? Niji continues, actually everyone gets their word in here. Whoever pays us more gets to win, that's all there is to it. And Yonji is the greedy one. He says, we could have played them against each other and crushed them both, made twice as much instead. Sanji listens silently. But I believe that's Judge who's speaking and said that would make us no different from pirates. Currently, we are still a member state of the world government. And, you speaking? I'm not sure. Who says that Father...
kids.
One of the kids.
Yeah, one of them. Father, the referee is close, but he suspects that this time, at long last, they will be revoking our right to attend, probably based on this marriage and affiliating with a pirate. So, keep this in mind. The power that they gain from this move is absolute. This will change Germa.
There's a lot of really cool things on this page to point out besides the chairs. Mostly the chairs, though. Judges.
What about the
especially.
map, Zach?
The map is the other thing. I don't know who Brian
Map of
I think
Africa.
you said that, but yeah, Africa.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit. I could see that, but I was trying to determine: are these just like maps, or are these like visual Tentenmushi kind of like?
I assume it's a map of the North Blue.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
Yeah, and
Probably.
also they both say, they both have the compass with the north symbol. Maybe that's supposed to be. I mean, a lot of the compasses on map only have the N on it.
It's very reminiscent of like the war room that you see in most movies.
Like a Doctor
Gentlemen, you can't
Strange
fight in
level.
here.
It's the war room. Yeah.
Oh, it's totally Doctor Strangelove.
I think we'll probably get a bigger homage at some point later in the series. But yeah,
So Zalveri might makes right. If you're kind, you only lead to more suffering. Yeah, well.
I mean, it's also weird seeing the Nazi imagery, but with the Scandinavian flag behind it. So I'll let our Scandinavian listeners have their opinions about that, and rightfully so. Brian, take us into the next part here.
Okay, so the next part we have Niji. I'm pronouncing that correctly, I assume.
Yes.
Yes. Niji goes, it's rare for anything to bring father so much pleasure. To think the day would arrive that you would be useful. He's referring to Sanji, their long-lost brother, he reminisced about how they were stunned the day he disappeared. No, really. the rest of us used to talk from time to time about where you were, what ditch you found yourself dead in, and which end would be most entertaining for us. He's a total snobbish prince, and Yanji has a big chuckle over this, and nearly spits out his food.
Is his hair like making waves there? Like there's like lines off of his hair.
Well, what's really interesting about that panel with Neji is that he's making the same with his hand. He's making the same motion his hair is making. Okay, so the continuation. You hear Yanji laughing at Sanji in the background, but Sanji's quick to point out, like, you haven't finished eating, Neji. Eat all your food. And he's like, Neji goes, What'd you say? He looks down at his plate, he's like, oh, this. I'm done. I'm not hungry. He's like, I chowed down on plenty of chocolate earlier. These guys' priorities. And this potatoy sauce looks nasty. It's all sticky and gross. This is going straight to the trash. I can't wait for something when we get to the anime. I wonder if the same voice actor is going to voice all three brothers.
For reasons that will become apparent later in this chapter.
Yeah. Okay. So Sanji getting even more like strident about him finishing his plate and not being a spoiled child is like, eat it, idiot prince. You have no idea the value of food or the effort that went into cooking it. And then, of course, this sets Neji off. He's like, idiot! You dare insult me? You Sanji? You dare order me around?
It's like they've turned Sanji into a dirty word when he was gone.
Yep.
He's Sanji.
Well, he's 3, and this guy's number 2, so he could look down on him. That's perfectly reasonable.
Hey, Zoro has the same logic. So then, instead of striking out at his brother, he decides to call the head chef, Corsette. Corsette, is she here? Call the head chef. This disgusting-looking food she served caused my brother to upset me. And Cosette, who's really a sweet young woman, comes in. She's like, yes, sir, Neji, I'm so sorry. I served you something that is not suited to your taste. And bowing and scraping a little. And then he's like, all right, don't move, Cosette. He sets the plate up in one hand and then chucks it at her in the other hand. And the plate goes flying in a very, what's her face from Thriller Bark?
Yeah, I was going to mention her too.
Yeah, Sindri.
Oh, yeah.
Sindri, yes, thank you.
She
very
hates
Sindri
plates,
fan.
yeah. Mm.
It's actually the opposite now, because now Sindri was the servant, and now the servant is at the receiving end of chucking plate.
Isn't Cosette the girl from
Name is.
Rob? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is right.
Fits in. It definitely fits in.
Alex.
And just as the plate is about to hit her face, with breakneck speed, Sanji rescues Cosette's face from the flying plate, and with a plop and a splort, the food makes its way to the carpet. And Neji is dumbfounded. How low will you sink? No, says Sanji. You dare leave a mark on a lady's face. And here comes Mr. Kishido, as per usual. Sanji being his ever chivalrous self, and she, of course, is shocked completely. And Neji is also shocked, considering that he just called Cosette a lady. You're going to stick up for a glorified kitchen maid of all things. And Reiju gives this look that I think we've seen her give before, where she's very stoic. She's very interesting. We can talk about her later. But calls Sanji a gentleman as he goes to the floor and laments the fact that, well, now the food's ruined. It's aligot, a mixture of potatoes and cheese. I was actually reading about aligot this week. It's basically tomato puree with like a crap ton of butter and garlic
Potato puree?
and cheese. Yeah.
You said tomato.
I meant potato.
I wish it was
Tomato.
Tomato, potato, it's all the same.
Yeah, let's
No,
call
it
the
is
whole thing.
not. I'm offended by this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sanji remarks that potatoes strengthen the body's immune system and stabilize blood pressure. It's nutritious. And, as he's picking it up, Cosette is pleading, "Oh, no, I'll clean it up." And he says, "On this meat is fine confit. I assume it was picked because you're all exalted guests. And if you don't know what confit is, it's basically meat that's cooked and preserved in its own fat. And it's absolutely delicious." You might have heard duck confit or rabbit confit.
See, I've eaten it before, but I never knew what it was.
Yeah, it's oh God.
What are you,
so
some kind
good.
of prince, Zach?
Yes. Jesus Christ.
And Sanji eats it from the floor and remarks that this is a pretty heavy-duty dish to make in one day, and she is, and Cosette is
Floor meat.
ooh, flip pie, is completely flipping out, saying, "Oh no, Master Sanji, you're royalty. You can't eat off the floor." And Niji agrees, saying,
His face.
yeah, he's. I can't believe how
Niji's my
pampered
favorite.
how pampered these brats are. It's
You can't believe it?
I can't believe it.
Steven, what's next?
All right, and Sanji finishes his morsel and looks over and says, "The flavoring is flawless." And she's still kind of shocked that he's been eating the food off the floor, but then the waterworks start, and she's like blushing. She doesn't really know how to react to this. This is all very out of left field to her, and Niji rushes up to Sanji, and he's preparing a kick, and he's just mocking him, like, how far have you sunk? Like, how impoverished do you think yourself? Do you think you are now? If you dare to call yourself my brother, if you dare to share our name, then I won't stand for you to disgrace it like this. And this sets off Judge as he realizes what he's about to do, and he's like, "Stop it! No, he hasn't been married yet." So, in other words, it's not that he's going to hurt his brother; it's that he's going to damage the valuable goods before the actual transaction can take place. Pretty much.
Big Mom wants to take wedding photos. You can't take wedding photos with the black eye.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's kind of a cool, like, pause frame here down in the corner where you just see the heel of the foot and Sanji's face, and then there's this kind of enigmatic, like there's zapping sound effects, but Niji's leg hasn't moved, so it's clear that like just kind of the exhaust of this attack is being thrown over Sanji's shoulder towards the wall, and Cosette screams and
it's electric.
falls to the ground.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
Blue electric.
That's right. Electric blue, right? And he continues, "You're an embarrassment to the Vinsmoke name." And Sanji has a good comeback here. "I'm embarrassed to be associated with it."
Oh,
It's a good one. And then so he launches into this speech here of the transgressions of these people. "An idiot who can't respect the sanctity of food, a man who raises his hand against a woman, royalty who treat their servants like inhuman objects. Everything you stand for runs counter to my ideals." And they're all just staring at him like, "Oh, really? Like, listen to you."
not all of them.
Well-
Rachel's not included in this biota.
Yeah, we go to the next page as we see Nico Robin looking on as sorry. As we see Reiju looking on kind of quizzically. I'm sorry, reminds me of Alabasta, just the, super
The hand pose, yes.
the hand pose, the what is she thinking thing, okay.
Just
Anyway,
assessing him.
she's assessing him, yeah. We'll probably talk a lot about Reiju later.
She's probably the smartest.
Maybe. Ichiji mentions that this is just the ideology of someone weak in the huddled masses, the bourgeoisie, and saying that
That's
the other
that's not-
one,
That's the wrong one.
The
proletariat. Losing my mind. Saying, look, I never have understood the way you see things. The way royalty operates is by its own rules, its own set of rules. And you're the one who's wrong here. And we zoom into Judge sitting on his skull throne, indicating, yes, your mistakes have only grown deeper. And maybe I could attribute that to this man as he holds up a picture of Zeph, shocking Sanji and shocking the audience, I think, a little bit, even though it's not super surprising, but maybe a little surprising here. Anyway, Judge says...
Who just
Miles, sorry, go ahead.
Who just has a picture of Zeph sitting around? Like,
You don't?
so
Mine's
that's a
framed.
surprise here. Like, yeah, there you go. It's just not. It's not part of a dossier. It's just a random picture of Zeph.
Well,
It's a good photo.
We're about to find out.
I just keep a picture of Zeph on my desk, or by my bedside. Then he says, "Look, Big Mom's intelligence network. It's greater than even I had heard. And I understand that 2 years ago you were working at this man's restaurant in a stretch of sea that has been identified on the ocean-going restaurant Baratier." And Judge, noticing Sanji's gone a little pale. And we see a little flashback of how he got this image and the handcuffs from... anyone want to do this little speech here? I can't really do a great French accent.
My Baron Tamago? Yes. Okay. Let's see. But the Straw Hats and Sanji himself will mount la resistance against his marriage. Just in case you may have the bracelet and knowledge of his secret weakness.
I think you added the end there, but well done, yeah. There's a reason I didn't even try that. And Judge says, look, it's only in the worst case scenario, but if you refuse to comply, and then I'd have to, ask, do you really want his head to fly from his shoulders? Well, I really like that translation there, Stephen. Well done.
Thank you.
Miles.
So Sanji looks completely stunned, and Judge says, I suggest you don't get any funny ideas. You should know what we are capable of. And Sanji's brothers look pretty pleased with themselves. Don't resist your friend. Forget your friends and accept your marriage to Pudding. And Sanji is facing away from his family. Then everything will wrap up neatly, they say, as they walk out the door and it creaks shut. And then we're in full flashback mode, so the poor Shonen Jump printer's ink is going, causing them extra bills for this page. And you hear, why'd you do that for me? I was going to kill you. I never gave you a reason to be kind to me. And this is young Sanji, assumedly, talking to Zeph. Amazing crap, geezer. So this is the ocean-going restaurant, and we see the Bartier. And there's Zeph. It's going to be a bustling place, he says. Little Sanji says, never fear, Sanji's here.
Scrappy-Doo.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Sanji-Doo. Sanji-Doo.
There we go. We see, which is really kind of nice to see stuff happening on the Bartier. So we see Zeph screaming at him for ogling a girl and dropping dishes. Too slow, baby eggplant. He's screaming at him for not being good enough in the kitchen. Zeph's kicking him for another woman, baby eggplant.
Yeah, he's drawn very cartoony there. I love it. Like his face, especially in the one on the left and the one second from the right. He's yelling at him.
And we can see exactly when he upgrades his suit.
Yeah.
We were always wondering when that happened. Alex.
Baby eggplant! and then we are transported back to when Sanji leaves the Baratier for the first time. One of my favorite moments in One Piece. And he tells him, "Hey, Sanji, keep your feet dry." And of course, Sanji does his famous, "Chef Zeph, I owe you my life. I'll never forget you." And we're brought back from that lovely flashback to the terrible present, wherein Judge is still holding up this lone picture of Zeph, saying, "Let's have a nice peaceful ceremony tomorrow. We'll be having lunch with Big Mom and Pudding, so prepare to leave for her castle." Sanji can do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Some time passes, and we're back at the Drima Double Six Castle, and Sanji says, "Someone come quick, call a doctor," and he's around a body. And he says, "Damn, they waited till I wasn't around. What did she do to deserve this?" And it's Cosette, and she is brutally beaten. I'm hard-pressed to remember another time where a woman is actually brutalized this badly in this manga.
Yeah, not in this manga.
Me and Greg
Robin. Robin got messed up pretty badly, but not the physical scars that she had.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also just someone in a defenseless position with not trying to, not one of the straw hats.
Yeah,
someone.
Nami took some damage fighting.
Arlong.
Oh, Miss Doublefinger.
No,
Also-
no. But what I'm saying is this: she's missing a tooth, and she's got
Yeah,
boxer's
bruising.
eye.
Didn't also Zoro squeeze Miss Wednesday's face?
Yeah,
Was
but
it
no,
Yeah,
She wasn't
yeah,
hurt
but
from that.
it was nothing. It was nothing like to this
Yeah.
degree.
it really is. Yeah.
Me and Greg were both impressed because it's not in Oda's style. You know, when he depicts women suffering damage or being the victims of violence in this story, he tends to he kind of tends to use the soft kid gloves with them, just in terms of if they're supposed to be pretty, he doesn't want to make them too disfigured like this, which is kind of a change from his usual standards, which is impressive. And obviously I don't want to suggest that it's awesome that Oda is drawing these women, brutalized women. No, it's a horrible thing. But I'm kind of glad that he didn't kind of do it in his typical kind of chivalrous manner where it's she looks really hurt, but she still looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it really brings home the kind of barbarity of what was done and the lack of humanity in that action from his brother.
Just to quickly buttress that point, these are just very quick visual examples. Think of the way Alvida was defeated when she first encountered Luffy. She was a heavy-set woman, not quote-unquote beautiful. But also think of the way Nami's fights usually end up with her. She has maybe a couple of superficial scars, maybe a couple of maybe blood streaming down the head at most.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone bleeds.
Or even
from that.
Rebecca. Rebecca's another one, yeah, where it's just there's no physical scarring. There's no how Oda kind of does the markings under her eye if someone gets
Right,
punched.
yeah.
No
And also,
distorting
they make. I guess Oda's making a difference between women who choose to fight, or pirates or
Right.
gladiators, and a cook.
Right.
Yeah,
Possibly.
the fact
it
that
definitely, like Steven says, it drives the point home for sure.
Yes, the fact that this is a defenseless woman and she has been brutalized in a way that we've not seen anybody in One Piece brutalized before, women-wise, it really hammers in the fact that these villains are truly despicable, and so far, I'm really believing that Germa's a bit of a threat. So I really have to give props to Oda for not sugarcoating this. And Sanji, of course, is beyond livid, saying that he's never seen such wretched cowardice. As the doctor comes in, there's Yonji standing or leaning rather against the door, saying, "It's your fault, Sanji. You put her on a higher level than where she belongs." Basically saying that you mingled with the peasants, and now you have to pay the price.
Finish us up, Miles.
So Yonji's looking really smug and says, "You want to see Niji? He's your culprit. Come on, I'll take you to him." And Sanji quickly says, "That's exactly what I want right now." And I haven't really seen Sanji look this mad. And then I'm guessing they are walking down a pathway. The door says 66 is a big vault. Sanji says, "What's this? Aren't you curious? We were never allowed in here as kids." And he opens the door, and that little narrow panel, I really like that. It leads into almost a half-page spread of a lot of German soldiers in bottles with little crooks on top.
Dude bros in bottles.
Dude bros and bottles.
Dude, bros and bottles.
They're all like...
I love the
Go ahead.
cork. I didn't notice that, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The cork's
I
my
think
favorite.
it's on Adventure Brothers, isn't it?
No, they're definitely being mass produced though.
Yeah.
Shipped out to a local store near you.
They're all numbered, and there's a couple hundred of them. There's a scientist looking at them, and they're all just in this big manufacturing plant. And I don't know whether they're just on a cake type thing for display or if that's part of the process for moving them out. But Germa 66 is on the middle tank, and it says, I think it's a scientist talking. "So we need to replenish type MB, 54 units. type MST 30 units, and type MH 21 units. And this is crazy. What the heck, Sanji says, which, only serves to underscore this is absolutely crazy. And he asks, "Are they?" ? Exclamation point. And so we've got what looks like a bunch of clones.
And
First
then
clone in One Piece.
the Clone Wars have begun. Let's start.
Jesus Christ.
Someone had to do it, and for some reason it was me. Miles, what did you think of this chapter?
Oh, why do you have to start with me? This is so cool. Seeing Sanji, this is the year of Sanji that I wanted. Just kind of seeing him as a hero, even if it's really just the most evil of evils. I'm okay with that with One Piece when they do it. He's getting set up for all this sorts of failure. He's standing up for people in all the right ways, and he's showing both his gentlemanliness as a cook and as a weird kind of take on gentleman that is very One Piece only, but I love it. So it's just nice seeing Sanji being the best you really ever get to see him. I actually really liked all the Nazi imagery, and I was looking forward to what kind of experiments they were going to run, because I knew there was going to be something once I saw that bird.
You think it's a reference to the Boys of Brazil project?
Oh,
Yeah, that's good.
So
there it is.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Is it Nazi experiments? We got it going. It's going to be great. How else can you have Nazis be evil other than killing people? Right? This is the route I'm looking to take. That was a great chapter.
Yeah, Steven.
Ooh, yeah, I thought this was a masterfully done chapter. It's definitely, I think, is the best this arc at kind of putting you into Sanji's mindset. I already mentioned the thing, the scene with the maid. But also, I feel like he succeeded. There were a number of poignant things about this. I really like the way he did the flashback with Zeph. Specifically, the way that he does that transition where, you see all the scenes where he calls him baby eggplant, and then at the end when Sanji's leaving as a man, he's like, and then he's Sanji. Hey, Sanji.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. It's a great character transformation, I guess. And the way that he kind of puts Sanji into the space of, maybe he wasn't like necessarily Mr. Prince in this chapter, but I feel like he successfully avoided a lot of the kind of recent bad Sanji tropes, which is to say that like he was chivalrous in the sense that he saved this this head chef, this lady chef, from harm, and he kind of couches it in his usual, like, you're hurting, you would dare leave a mark on a lady's face, but it's not like the typical I'm gonna also make the goo eyes over this girl. She's clearly in an inferior position here. She's not a combatant. She doesn't deserve any of this. She's also a fellow chef, and so Sanji is already in his like sort of food lecture mode where he's trying to instill the value of food into this guy, and all of that kind of wraps up into this protective measure that he does, and it feels much more, I guess, wholesome in terms of like Sanji's values than a lot of the stuff that we've seen him doing recently. So I think he did that really well, and in addition, the use of the hostage tactic as being Zeph and the Baratier, I think, was also really smart, rather than like the Straw Hats, because that was kind of what we've seen, like with the CP9 arc. That was how they got Robin to cooperate with him, is because, you're gonna cause trouble for these people that you consider their companions. Well, obviously that's not really going to work here, because the Straw Hats can fend for themselves, but Zeph and the Baratier definitely cannot, and so it's a much more effective threat. And so I really liked the way that he executed all of this stuff. It was just a really well told chapter.
Bryan.
Yeah, just quickly, when Steven mentioned the CP9, there was one panel where the Sanji family, the Vinsmokes, are walking out the children. Reminded me of when the CP9 were walking out of the conference room they had after like debriefing after they captured Frankie and Rob.
That's what it was. I knew it looked familiar. That's
Yeah, it's. I need to find that panel and what chapter it was, but it's very reminiscent.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I'll try and find it.
Yeah. Yeah, the chapter is great. I can't say anything more than that. What Stephen and Miles have already elated on. But am I gonna be the person to say it? Is this the big speculation that maybe Sanji and his brother and sister might be test tube babies?
So
I thought I made it pretty clear I thought I implied it pretty heavily earlier.
Yeah, I mean the Dude Bros definitely seem to be, and like there's another speculation going on, at least with groups of my friends. They're suggesting that last panel of the Dude Bro looks a lot like Virgo. I don't know if that's just a coincidence.
I thought he looked like the kickboxer.
Oh, Ideo?
Iago?
He's kind of got his...
Iago.
Yeah, he's kind of got his hairline.
Iago.
Got the big widow.
Othello/Aladdin.
Iago. Yeah, so if they're not test tube babies, then I'm still asking, where is the mother from the Vinsmokes? And after, especially when I was reading the chapter, actually watching Corset being after seeing what happened to her when she got brutalized by one of the brothers, I'm not even necessarily sure it's Niji yet. But the where's the mother might be the catalyst to what happened to Sanji and why he ultimately left the family. If this is what this family is capable of, we don't know what kind of monster Judge and the brothers might have been to the mother.
There's a lot of good questions there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat to chew on in this chapter.
Alex.
Yeah. Right off the bat, I'm going to say that this is the first time that Sanji has felt like Sanji in like maybe a decade. Probably since like before Thriller Bark. Actually, no, before the I'll never hit a woman thing in his lobby. Actually, now
we actually kind of understand that a little better now, I would say.
Maybe it still doesn't.
Just to theorize, what if he did grow up in an abusive home where women were being beaten, and he's just like, I'm never going to do that. I'm
sure, but we still, there's still a lot that that we still need to see. The point being, though, like I'm the year of Sanji indeed. Like this is like finally Oda is taking Sanji a little more seriously. He's not going to be the butt of every joke this arc. He's kind of the star. And further evidenced when he didn't make the, as Stephen put it, the goo eyes at Cosette at all. He treated her as a chef, as a peer, and as a lady, of course. But this chapter was such a hell for Sanji, like even more so than his stint on Kamabaka Kingdom. This is true hell for Sanji because his the person that he cares about the most in this world is being basically held at gunpoint, and Sanji is put in this environment where he is completely out of his element, and there's nothing at all that he can do about it. It's kind of interesting. I was talking with Steve Yurko, our own Steve Yurko, about this, and he said that this is the first chapter that this arc that he actually enjoyed front to back. He thought that this the year of Sanji was a misnomer, that it was going to be the year of the seducing woods. So I'm sort of inclined to agree, but I actually like the seducing woods stuff. As for the clone stuff, there is so much that we can speculate that is obviously going to be revealed next chapter. I mean, hope. But we have a couple options here. Like Sanji could be the one child who is Sanji could be the one child who is not a clone, which is why he seems to have some humanity in him, or perhaps I don't know. No matter what, it's going to be a huge shock to his system and traumatizing. So I don't know. We can discuss this more, but I'm finished.
So yeah, this chapter was really I really enjoyed the serious Sanji, not being the goofy Sanji like you guys have been saying, but it also really drives home the fact that the royalty have rotten ideals about their own really genetic superiority, which makes the Nazi references all the more important, prescient or telling. And we continue to see the fallout of Doflamingo's fall. Really, it's sort of mentioned in the background there. Very important. But yes, Sanji's brothers are total bastards, and the idea that they're like clones, they could be clones, but Sanji is like, even if they're clones, he still has like free will. It's a very sort of One Piece thing to go with, and that he was able to break away and have independent thought, even if he isn't supposed to be that way. He was made to be a different way. It's very One Piece, and yeah, I love the bits with Cosette, as you guys were talking about before. But yeah, and just holding Zeph hostage. It's really the one thing that you could hold over Sanji more so than anything else, even really over like the Straw Hats, because I think he knows that the Straw Hats can handle themselves, but the Baradier is sort of like it's a sitting duck basically in the water there.
Is that a pun?
And not really. It's a goldfish.
It's goldfish.
It's a goldfish. Yeah,
it's a sitting goldfish.
But
it'd be like shooting fish in a barrel.
There you go.
Yeah,
there we go.
But yeah, that basically wraps up my thoughts on it. Zach?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this chapter. It made me feel uneasy the entire time, which I think is what it was supposed to do. It had a simple focus. I think when we were starting, some of you guys were like, "This was a short chapter, right?" No, this was actually a normal length chapter, but the pace of it I thought was so well done that you're reading through it and it's gripping and you're like, what the hell? And everything except the last page I think would have been great on its own, and then that last page is like such a huge curveball that I don't even really know what to make of it. In general, it's just, I thought, very well done. The stuff with Reiju, I think it's like when Oda does the ellipses over someone over and over again, they're thinking something. I'm looking at you, Brooke. And so with Reiju, the problem is she just so seems like a Nico Robin type that I hope it doesn't end up that way. Oh, she'll just join the Straw Hats and it'll be not even like that, but even she'll be. Well, I mean, guy.
Like she could have been the one who beat up Cosette, but then again. Oda, but then again, Oda does love his, girl action, redeemable female characters. Yeah,
like the thing about Reiju too that I'm a little worried about is that she also reminds me of Monet of being the female character of mystery, and with Monet that never really went anywhere. Like she did not end up having like a specific kind of special role. I would hope, given the contrast between her and the brothers, that it will be important here. But we'll have to find out about that, I guess.
I think we have to remember Reiju's initial introduction as well. Miles, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Honestly, she's got the 66 eyebrows instead of Sanji's 99, so I'm putting my money on her being a clone. So,
well, I don't even know how the eyebrows should be interpreted there.
Yeah, another thing that you have to note too is that Reiju is the oldest, or the eldest rather, and only Sanji and his three brothers were born on the same day, quote unquote.
Well, we have no idea, how any of this happened, or how it works, or if they're clones, or if they're test tube babies, or how, any of that kind of stuff. Just because they have this technology does not necessarily mean that they use this technology on the four of them. It could, but it doesn't. It just.
But their eyebrows.
They're mesmerizing.
It's the clone thing. It's called Germa 66, and the eyebrows are 66.
Double
right
six.
There. Double six, excuse me.
And the lightning bolts and the Germa and the blonde hair, it's all coming together.
The other
very
thing,
German.
I mean, people were guessing as 1 through 4 there, is that them? But you could see number 4. I mean, you can't see the number 4, but it goes like 7, 6, 5, and you could see the 4, 3, you could see those other ones. So it's obviously not that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was like an early phase of whatever the hell's going on here. And I feel kind of... These are the kind of things I feel really ridiculous speculating about because we're probably going to find out very soon. And I don't... there's no context for this. It's just he walks into a room and there are a bunch of corked people in test tubes. And what am I supposed to say about that? I don't know. The Reiju stuff is far more intriguing to me. I'm going to lean on the side that I think she's probably the baddest of them, maybe. Although
double down, Zach.
I'll double. You know what? I'll double down on it. I'm going on it. I'm going. Yeah.
I hope you're right.
I don't know if I am, but I'm gonna take a different side. I'll try. Sometimes I'm right. Once in a while. So I think that's everything, right? Anything else you guys want to mention? I'm sure
It's a back to tank.
My favorite.
Not all at the same time. We'll talk about it more in the Piece Together segment. I'm sure there are some questions out there. So why don't we get straight into that? You guys ready?
Woo! Yeah.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories and then experiment on them. It's technically, I think, what we do here. So let's start with some emails. First one's from Liam Tasker. When we saw the King of Goa in Luffy's flashback, going a completely different direction from our manga chapter to start off here, his face was hidden from the reader, and when we saw Stelly in Logtown, his face was turned away from the reader. Logtown being the place, not the arc. This was actually right before the whole Cake Island stuff, just to let you guys know. Anyway, he continues... Do you think the Kings of Goa have something done to their faces? Maybe like a brand or a tattoo?
What's wrong with your face? I think that they would never dare damage the perfection that is their royal face.
I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I think it's just dramatic license.
And guys, if you've seen Stelly's face, you'd understand that you would not want to mess with that.
Yeah, we should be happy that we didn't have to see his face.
I'm upset about that. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Next one comes from James, who also mentions the Shocker from Kamen Rider thing for the Germas 66, and that the Strange Human Research Lab is definitely the sort of thing you would get in that kind of show. He also says
that's true.
that Oda's comment in the author section to Akimoto-sensei made him laugh, but it makes me wonder, does Oda himself want to be, in his own words, free? And on the same note, he's heard that Akimoto is actually planning on starting some new manga series. So much for vacation.
He's got his plans all done up. He's going to be doing a bunch of like sort of periodical manga stories in like 4 different publications or something like that. So it's ridiculous. The guy is a workaholic.
Yeah, I mean, you think Oda's like compared to Oda? Oda doesn't really want to work this much. I get the feeling, but he feels like it's like a duty that he needs to take. Next one comes from Blair, who said, "Hey, One Piece Podcast, just one question for this week's chapter. What would you do if you were in Sanji's place?" She says, "I know it's not within his character to murder someone, but after what happened to Cosette and presumably his mother." Which is a big assumption there, but there is no way that she will accept his family being defeated. They need to die. Wow, this person's just intense. Any thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, the one thing that he did in this chapter is he did very pointedly kind of set it up as a clash of ideals, in terms of like, okay, royalty works by its own rules, and Sanji's clearly like the black sheep here. So I think in his case, just like simply being able to establish dominance by fighting and winning, I think kind of does what Sanji would need to do or want to do in this case, which is just to show them that they are not the supreme the supreme say so in all matters, and that he is more than capable of sticking up for his own way of life, I guess. So yeah, I don't think it requires murder to to carry that out.
Another thing that we're dealing with right now is think about not only the ideals of Germa, but the ideals of Big Mom. They both kind of like use science to further an agenda, but like Big Mom has a sense of family, and we found out what Germa's sense of family and royalty is right now too. What One Piece does masterfully is that you don't have to kill your enemy, you just have to take away their goals and ambition.
Right.
And make that like a moot or useless. So Germa wants to marry Sanji off so they get a bigger network with Big Mom. Well, if Big Mom turns against Germa, then they won't have that anymore.
See, Brian, I think it's like in trading places. You just have to take away their money and their power, and that's worse than dying. That's all they have. I mean, they're basically those guys.
What's interesting, we didn't really talk about at the beginning of this chapter. They mentioned how they are accepted in the Reverie, but they don't want to be anymore, and that's actually would further their ambition if they get kicked out.
I don't know. I think they just understand that acquiring all this power, for them is worth giving up their seat at the Reverie.
Yeah.
Like they're willing to bet that the balance of power will shift away from the government, so that makes this worthwhile.
I completely forgot to even talk about that. I thought that's this very pivotal scene in the chapter this week too, is that they're basically abdicating their position. So they're allying, they're putting all their chips in allying with Big Mom because they're basically acting against world government interest all around the world at the moment.
It's the breakdown of the world government system that started 2 years ago and is continuing with the fall of Doflamingo, with the fall of the warlord system.
It's interesting. You see
because the world government's always kind of turned a blind eye to like slavery and like parts of crime that they can like, control.
Yeah, and this
I was very happy that Oda included that line and that explanation, because when he did introduce them as like, oh yeah, there's this weird sort of quasi member state of the world government, I was like, wait, like everything that he's showing us about this like doesn't seem to match up. Like, why would the world government allow these guys to still be part of this? And so that kind of puts it into perspective more that no, that they're not really, they're moving away from that right now, which kind of helps explain it more.
But it kind of
makes sense if they want to. If they want to conquer all of North Blue, I'm sure that's not within the government purview. So it's like, hey, we want to conquer all North Blue. It's like, well, you can't do that. Well, we're not going to be in the government anymore.
Right. See, that actually gives me pause. Like, why North Blue?
Why not?
Shrug.
Because why did Arlong choose the East Blue? Because he thought that's what he was strong enough to conquer. Like, he's not stupid enough to think he could conquer the Grand Line.
Well, because he already did.
Arlong specifically wanted East Blue because it was weakest.
Sure, but I think that there's more to Germa's motivations.
Right. It almost seems like it's some weird like birthright thing, like, oh, we had these before, now we have to live up to the glory of the past or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what Flamingo did.
Yeah. What I find really interesting here is that you could kind of see, I think we talked about how do you really defeat Germa. I think we kind of have our answer this chapter. It's they put all their eggs in Big Mom's basket, so to speak, and if Sanji and Pudding don't marry and this whole thing doesn't go off without a hitch, they're screwed. They're kind of just in this purgatory.
I wouldn't say that they're screwed though, just because if Sanji and Pudding don't get hitched, that means they're not affiliated with Big Mom,
correct.
Which means they can still go to the Reverie. No. Like it would just be a setback, really.
But the way that it was worded, and Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're going to have our position revoked from the Reverie regardless. So this is it's good that this option occurred, or do you think it's the opposite?
That was not my interpretation. My interpretation was we still have this status, but it looks like we are about to lose it because of what we're doing right now. Like that, it was an assumption that when this all becomes official and everyone knows what it is that we've done, then we're probably not going to still be.
Also keep in mind, Germa's objective is the North Blue, but the way they're trying to do is through military power. And if anything we can show is that if like Luffy comes through and just busts up their whole operation, they won't have military power anymore. They won't have that status. People will see them as like weak and ineffectual.
So that's all for emails, actually. So, Steven, you want to take us to Reddit? Not many this week.
Okay. Yeah, okay. We will start off with Prince of Assassins, who says, hey guys, I was watching a One Piece YouTuber called Manga Mine. I think that's how you pronounce that. And he brought up a really interesting theory about devil fruits. He was talking about how people found Biscuit's ability so odd, and people were guessing, why would anyone make Biscuits a weapon? His idea that the specific fruit could have been used for benevolent means, since the crackers would be a possible food source if people needed to be fed. Do you guys think devil fruits weren't just weapons of war, but were created by their makers in order to help humanity? After all, humans in real life have taken a hold of new technology and found ways to weaponize things, even when the source was made for good. Some of the strongest battle devil fruits, like tremor, lava, ice, and darkness, and gravity, could have been used to mold the world according to its current design. That theory of the world being changed thanks to the world government being an older one, supported by Zach, if I remember correctly. So do you guys think there could be more to devil fruits than just fighting?
I'm trying to think of a devil fruit that I think is super useless in that regard, and I think it's the jacket fruit.
No.
How could that help people?
Human.
Well, the first thing I went to was the spring fruit, but I'm like, no, you could use springs in mattresses and shit. So.
Well, I never really thought of devil fruits as being created by someone. It's an interesting idea,
right.
But on the other hand, I feel like you would have predicted that this could potentially happen. It doesn't take too much foresight to think, we should give someone a power to make enormous earthquakes anywhere, and that'll end up fine, right? I mean...
biscuit fruit, like... Why biscuits and not like any other fruit? Like
well, I'm
food?
sure there
like,
are a lot of other types of food. Yeah.
Also, biscuit is a subsidiary of bread.
Okay, so I have to explain something here. So the biscuit, obviously, they're referring to like sort of cracker, like cookie biscuits. Yes.
And not the other more delicious kind. Go ahead.
There is a like children's rhyme thing, and I was not aware of this. This is kind of one of those aspects of Japanese culture that kind of falls through the cracks for me, especially just because a lot of these things are like stuff you would learn in kindergarten. There's like a children's song or tune about some magic biscuit where if you tap it, it multiplies, and so that's basically. So it was sort of like a fairy tale thing that Oda was doing with how the biscuit stuff worked.
Interesting.
Yeah, this whole arc is harkening to fairy tales, not just European, but apparently Japanese fairy tales as well, or just like limericks or like Hansel and Gretel, all that shit.
Well, I feel like Oda does use a lot of that kind of stuff, just in general, though. Like for example, I almost forgot his name. Bartolomeo, his barrier,
right?
Is
cross your fingers.
Actually, one of our fans, Joao, I can't quite pronounce it, but posted on our comments the week before last, the podcast before last, with the children's song it's based off of, which is it's very short. I could read it quick.
Oh yeah, sure.
There is one biscuit in a jacket pocket. By tapping on the pocket, it becomes 2 biscuits. By tapping again, it becomes 3 biscuits. By tapping more and more, it becomes many biscuits. I want a magical pocket on my own jacket. I want biscuits from such a magical pocket. It's inspired me to have a pocket.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I still agree with Alex's point. Like, we haven't run any other kind of food devil fruits. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think we have. Well, I mean, the candy fruit, I guess. Like and I'm sure the more we see Big Mom's kids, we're gonna see more of that.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure he was saving it for this arc.
Yeah. Now, Steve, I know you're listening because we had a discussion. Well, of course, Steve is listening, but we had a discussion over Cracker's biscuit powers, and he was like, "It's the stupidest power. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense." Well, I guess now it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clearly, it's one of those things that, Oda does where he's like, okay, what would be a weird thing to, and then he comes up with something off the top of his head that like reminds him of, like in this case, his little children's rhyme song thing, or, it could be just something totally random like the jacket fruit where, it's just whatever, kind of catches his fancy at the time that he's coming up with these ideas, things that remind him of something else. And so, I think people like to kind of try to force everything into these like big overarching sort of world theories, when in reality a lot of this stuff is just made up on the fly by Oda.
Yeah. Oda's a very silly man.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Nope.
What's next, Stephen? Yep.
So we'll continue with Croco Cake Boss. Cake Boss. So he says, "Hey,
You know who I am? I'm the Cake Boss."
Hey,
was this guy bitten by a Croco cake bug and now he can see into the future? Sorry.
Hey, OPP podcast. I was rereading Ennius Lobby, and during the Robin flashback, we know that Crocodile had been looking for the Pluton for a long time, but how did he get this information? We know he became a warlord early on, but after Whitebeard kicked his ass, he turned his eyes toward Alabasta. Anyone have any theories about this? I rarely have seen this point brought up, but I feel like it could be important since the information he found should really be secret. Do you think we'll learn more about when the ancient weapons became a bigger part of the story, or if his past gets brought up?
So here's something interesting that I didn't think about, because when Ivankov said, I knew Crocodile since he was a rookie, and I know his secret. A lot of people are thinking that, oh well, maybe Crocodile was a woman beforehand, but it never occurred to me that maybe Crocodile was tied into the revolutionaries somehow. And the revolutionaries have all sorts of crazy information about just the world in general.
Well, he has some sort of angle to Ivankov, right?
Yes. And he has some sort of source for information because I don't think, everyday...
Well, he's an underworld boss.
Yeah, and he was a warlord, so, I mean, he probably had a lot of, contacts through that as well. I think... the thing is, the plans for the Pluton, as we recall, Frankie burned. So you would have thought Crocodile would have been interesting if he were somehow involved in the NES lobby stuff, but I guess how would he have known all of that was going on?
Yeah. Oh. That strikes me as something where Oda probably didn't think it required an explanation at the time that he was doing the story, and then maybe he left himself a little wiggle room with Crocodile's backstory later on. Sure. But I don't think it was necessarily an intentional choice at the time.
Yeah, there's a couple options that he could definitely go with. One of which would just be the fact that, when he hired Nico Robin, he didn't know about the Pluton, and he had a poneglyph on him, and that's how he knew about it, maybe?
I assumed he hired her because of the poneglyph and the Pluton. That's his only objective. He doesn't care about the history or any of the writing.
Well, yeah, that's 100%, yeah.
No, yeah, but what I'm saying here is that, maybe he came across a poneglyph, and he's like, oh, well, now I need somebody to read this thing, because I sure as fuck can't read this.
Well, it's the chicken or the egg thing. Did he know about the Pluton and because of that hire Robin, or did he find the poneglyph and Robin told him about the Pluton and that's why he was looking for it?
I assumed he knew about the Pluton ahead of time and then went seeking for the poneglyphs and needed someone to read it.
And Alex thinks the opposite. So yeah.
Yeah, because most people seem to know the poneglyphs can lead you to weapons.
Yeah. Well, I'm just opening that up as a possibility because it could go 100 different ways.
Mm-hmm. What's next, Steven?
That's true. Gladius Wing Zero has a sacrilegious question. I'm almost afraid to even ask this.
Sorry.
Sacrilegious.
Sounds delicious.
If any of the Straw Hat fleet commanders would get tricked by Sakazuki into stabbing Luffy, which one would it be?
Wait, I asked that. I totally asked that question on Twitter a little while ago.
Okay, well, he said, I think I saw this on Twitter, but if any of the Straw Hat...
okay.
He stole your question.
How dare you, Brian? How dare you ask this question?
No, I was thinking about it a little while ago because I was playing Pirate Warriors, and I was like, they did the scene with Squad and Whitebeard, and I'm like, Oda never does anything unintentionally, so...
There's a really obvious answer to this.
Cavendish?
No, there's an obvious answer to this. It has to be
it's Bellamy.
No, it's the most... What? It's the most gullible one, and that's Leo. Because he'll believe anything he's told.
Oh man,
They literally
true.
believe anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll stab Luffy with a pin. Or,
Yeah,
or, I'm sorry, a needle.
that's true.
And that's it.
That's all.
I mean, he could sew him down. That could be a problem. But I'm also not suggesting that it would actually work. I just think Shakazuki would attempt it in order to try the same thing he did with Whitebeard, but maybe it won't go in his favor the second time.
Right.
Bellamy isn't technically one of the commanders. I mean, he's like
No.
like a
Yeah, he's not one of the
straw hat.
No, but he's got Luffy's Viva card.
Yes.
And he could do whatever he wants with that, including giving it to the world government.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I don't know. I don't know if we've talked about it, but just how Bellamy is going to factor into the end game kind of story. I hope Oda has something cool in mind with that. Anyway, what's the next question, Stephen?
We will move on to Salem Arak, who wants to know if we can discuss the amazing character development Chopper has had in the New World. I loved his attachment to Mocha, and now his little adventure with Carrot acting like her mentor.
And also his new love, the love of his life, and
Milky.
Milky, right? Milky Chance. Give Milky a chance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a band. I think Chopper's been doing, for the little he's been in it. I think it's been great to see. The problem is
he had a good he had a good role in Punk Hazard, just kind of being the foil for Caesar as a quote unquote doctor. And
Zoe,
Caesar is obviously not.
I mean, Zoe was kind of an arc where no one was really standing up in particular as like this is the main guy in Zoe, but I like Chopper's little interactions in that with Cat Viper and Milky.
He tends to kind of go under the radar with stuff, but I feel like his Oda has been using him well for the little spotlight he's gotten.
Except in Dressrosa.
Next, our very own Surgeon Chow says, scientists have suggested the possibility of making babies without eggs. Given Germa's advanced technology and the lack of any hints to her existence, do you think that Sanji and his siblings never had a mom and were simply cloned from Judge? Also, what do you think MB, MH, and MST stand for? Be silly if you must.
Well, none of them look like Judge at all.
My name is Judge. Sorry.
No,
they look more like Judge Reinhardt.
And he doesn't have the eyebrows.
Well, we don't know, do we?
Well, not that we've seen, at least.
None of them have eyebrows.
Well, no. Well, the guys the guys we have in the
test tubes
in the test tubes are the putties, clearly, because they're
the dude
these
bros.
are the
dude bros and bottles.
Yeah, that's right, dude bros and bottles. I feel like a couple chapters ago when Sanji was squaring off against Judge and he used his wall. Like, I think first of all, that explains why, Oda decided that he was going to kill a bunch of dudes on screen, because that never happens. I was like, that's weird. So this explains.
They don't have any souls.
Yeah. These guys, they're homunculi, basically. They're grown in a bottle, and they're expendable. And I think that you know what I'm saying? Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well said, Alex.
Yeah, I had another thought.
I know what you mean. It's just cool to have like expendable Samurai Jack-ish soldiers in One Piece.
That's what I was going to say. I just remembered. I think they're all pre-programmed for this wall thing. To follow the order of either Judge or maybe the strongest, so to speak.
Do you think they all have...
They're kind of like the clone soldiers. They're all Jango Fett.
Yeah.
Do you think they all have their own special learning beds?
Yeah. They want a milkshake really badly.
I'm just glad for in 10 years we're going to have video game fodder that's not Marines. So looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Pirate Warriors 8, Fight the Clones.
And it gives them a reason to only have one model for all of them.
Yeah. Well, they kind of have different. They're different heavies. There's like a heavier one and there's a skinnier one.
But like the M, it could probably be M is something. I don't know. Male heavy.
Yeah. Male bunny.
Male steroid testicular.
Okay, Steven.
Ale heavy,
It's stout.
ale boobies.
All right.
I think we can move on, Steven.
Yeah,
Okay. Valentine Menace says, "What do you think some election slogans from One Piece characters would be, and who would be the best candidate for POTUS?"
Well, since none of them have any political background, I'm thinking to vote for any of them.
Oh, BB's a pretty good leader.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, Dalton.
There you go.
There you go.
I think someone had
Dalton.
mentioned how little democracy there is in the One Piece world. There is a lot of monarchy. I mean, that's
We talked about
Oh, we talked about. Okay.
Dalton's kind of like an elected one.
Yeah, was that you and me?
We
Yeah,
also-
Brian, you were the one mentioning that. Yeah.
yes.
Dalton's catchphrase would probably be monarchy. What monarchy?
Yeah. BV's catchphrase is "Stop the fighting, please."
I'd vote for Garp. I could see him as like an Eisenhower-esque figure.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Garp is
I
a
feel like icebergs would be like expanding the blue collar middle class with construction jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, icebergs would be like, "Nah, I don't want to do that."
and some anti-climate change messages, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
I love Moria. I love Moria's catchphrase, just like, "You make me the pirate king." That's
Make
the
me great
slogan.
again.
Make me
Yeah.
great again. It's more-
Oh yeah, let some other guys do it. We're gonna the zombies will pay for it.
Oh boy.
This is depressing.
Yeah, all right. Let's go to Steak and Salad, who says, "You guys frequently mention that One Piece arcs usually have exciting starts and great finishes, but there's usually a middle part where things sag a bit and stagnate.
Depending on the
arcs-
arc.
Depending
on the
arc.
arc.
Yeah.
Well, which of the arcs has the strongest middle, in your opinion, in the manga?"
Ooh.
Oh well, there we go.
Good
Alabasta.
I don't know if
Yeah,
I
the
agree
rain
with that.
dinners
Oh yeah, rain dinners. Yeah, I guess it is the middle.
and the first and second crocodile fights.
Yeah, Alabasta. I think.
It really does. Yeah.
If we're putting
Separate
Water
from any
7,
lobby.
yeah, I was gonna say that if we're gonna put those together, I could go with that Water 7 in Inasabi chunk.
The sea train stuff is great if you put them together.
Yeah, and the beginning of Inasabi. I like
But
that.
if you separate them, then it's the opposite. They're really awful
Yeah.
middles. Yeah.
Sure.
You see Skypea? No. I think the middle's
No.
definitely the weakest. Trying to think.
The
of
arcs
probably
in
the-
blue are too short, and
yeah.
Thriller Bark is kind of weak in the middle.
Thrillberg's very weak in the middle. Yeah. I think Alabasta. But the thing is, Alabasta has like ebbs and flows. So Rain Dinners is probably the highlight of that arc for me. But there are parts in the middle that definitely lag.
Yeah.
See, I
100%.
think the rain dinners is the part that I liked the least.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's sort of like the James Bond like middle of the old Batman TV series thing
I
where
know,
it's like,
it's
oh,
great.
they're stuck in the trap. Tune in next week. What's going to happen?
I enjoy that stuff. It's just not as good as everything that precedes. And
Right.
I mean, I love when they got out. I'm like, fuck, that's awesome.
Well, the thing about Rain Dinners is that like it's not that long either, and you still have like the first two crocodile fights, right?
Yeah.
So
The thing I would say in Alabasta's favor is that all of the middle stuff, at least they're moving to different places.
Yeah.
Like they're constantly going on. Like, if you look at like Punk Hazard, where it's a bunch of people running around the same place,
Oh my god.
that's the stuff that really
So much
drags.
running.
yeah, running, screaming forever.
Alabasta's
Although,
really huge too, so there's a lot of things to see, and they're all different. Go ahead,
Exactly.
Alex.
yeah, I was gonna say Impel Down moves at a pretty good pace though.
Yeah.
It's Impel Down is fairly
I could back that.
Yeah.
like is fairly fast moving though, and I'd say that has a pretty strong middle. But the thing is, for me, Impel Down I don't even consider it that large of an arc to have a middle, even though it's like 3 volumes long.
No, it has a middle. I mean, the thing is, it's so
It's because
regimented.
it is the middle of the Luffy arc.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
Well, the middle of Impel Down is the level 4.5 stuff. It's the Ivankov stuff, which I think is strong. Not in the anime, it is the worst part of the arc, but in the manga, it's great.
I hesitate to even mention Impel Down in front of Steven because I know that was a
It's a sore topic. Yeah.
yeah.
Never tell me the odds. Never tell me the anime.
All right.
that.
Well, for content, at
Nate-
least, yeah.
Yeah. Nivers wants to know, how do you think Nami and Robin would react to the presence of Senior Pink? Would they be disgusted or turned on by how hard-boiled he is?
He's
I
wearing a
think-
diaper.
All right, there you go. That's the answer. He's wearing a diaper.
I mean, what else is there to say? Nami and Robin are normal. That's it. I don't know why that made Alex go off the deep end.
No, we just need to leave it there. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to Super Dubes. I'm going to kind of sum this up because he is referring to there was this quote-unquote leaked spoiler that was making the rounds apparently in the last week or so.
That's so
That
weird.
was... Yeah, it was apparently... Okay, so it was posted to some Facebook page called Mugiwara Shop Philippines.
Sounds legit.
Yep, that very legit, and had extremely, apparently, I didn't read this myself, but apparently it had extremely detailed, developments for like the rest of the series, and so a bunch of people fell for it. A bunch of people were like, no, this is bullshit. I'm basically going to sum this up by saying Oda has general ideas about how he wants to do things. And he has sketchbooks where he writes down, ideas, things he wants to introduce for future arcs. We've seen pictures of them where he just kind of scribbles down ideas and stuff. And we also know that he has told, his editors kind of, quote unquote, the big picture idea, how he wants to end the series or whatever. But aside from that, 95% of all the stuff in between is completely in flux, and Oda does a lot of improvising on the fly, on a week-to-week basis. So anything that purports to be it's not like a TV show where they're going to chart out the course of the plotting for the next season of Breaking Bad or whatever. It doesn't really work that way, and so always take spoilers that purport to be more than just next week's chapter with a huge bucket of salt, basically.
Bucket of salt. I like it.
Yep.
Zombie Oars, bucket of salt.
Yes. Banish those spoilers. Let's see. I'm going to pick out one more here. Okay, someone else mentioned that Oda didn't do a Bleach tribute as well.
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Let's see. And then someone asks about Virgo being an escaped clone from Germa 66. So
because he kind of looks like.
Well, they have the sunglasses. That's one thing. Or I don't know. They didn't quite look like regular shaped sunglasses. They kind of look more like some weird Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
They look like they're part of their face, not sunglasses, but those are the visual receptors that they have or something.
Mm-hmm. But he does use the bamboo stick, and they were practicing with staffs on the deck of the ship when we saw them training.
But we saw him as a kid. Don't forget, we saw Virgo as a kid.
It's true. What if he was the guy they cloned?
So he's the Fett. What the hell's the first name of his dad?
He's the
Jango Fett.
Jango
Fett.
Jango.
So here's actually something that I wanted to bring up that I completely forgot to at the end of the manga recap, but this is a great segue for it in terms of just how long have they been cloning these Germa soldiers for. And it brought me back to the comic strip that Vito mentioned that is a title of an actual chapter, Sora. The hero who walked on water with his pet seagull, who fought the Germa. And Vito mentioned that this is a comic strip that he was crazy about. Depending on how long ago that Vito was a huge fan of this comic strip, and if you notice, if you go back to that chapter, and you notice the Germa soldiers that he's fighting, they have the same haircuts as Ichiji and Niji and them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, how many generations of clones has this gone back
Right.
I also have a personal theory that Sora is Sengoku because of the
Right.
sequel.
Yeah. Exactly. I was just going to mention that. Have we seen Sengoku? Like, have we ever had like a sort of admiral, nickname versus real name thing with Sengoku, or is his name as far as we know?
It's just Sengoku the Buddha, right? That's all we know.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he had been given a personal name, and that was just a nickname or a title or something. So
Yeah, no, he hadn't. And I think now that he's technically like retired, they haven't called him anything else but
right.
Sengoku.
Yeah, no, that is very interesting. I would kind of like that to be true, just because I think Sengoku is a really interesting character, and getting to have another angle on his background would be valuable. But yeah, lots of room for theorizing there, I think, for sure.
Is that it for Reddit, Steven?
That'll do it for Reddit. We can move on.
Okay, Ed, it's time to...
Peace the tweet! Yeah.
That sounded like something broke as you said that. That's how that happens. Ed, what do we got on Twitter this week?
All right, the first question comes from Lucas, who asks, are there any devil fruits that, in your opinion, need to make an appearance in One Piece before it ends? Need.
I'd like to see a water Logia.
Lion fruit.
Definitely lion. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Zoans we haven't seen, and for good reason, because we're gonna when we get.
I really want the dragon. The dragon Zoan is actually what I'm super excited.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, a different dragon from Minovsky, who.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, his fruit isn't real. He's not the real one.
It's also shitty compared to what you think the dragon would be.
He's a little kid.
Yes, he is.
Like to see him as a little kid.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
Natalie Mana.
No?
I mean, so far we've
Miles.
seen everything that a normal human could think about, and Oda's best ideas are things that no normal human could. So I want to see everything.
Like
I
a
have no
biscuit.
idea what they are. Like a biscuit.
Taco.
Going to see the pants fruit
Ooh, a taco
go
fruit.
along with the jacket.
If Hillary Clinton wins, there's going to be taco people all over the country. It's going to be awful.
Every
Oh
street
yeah, on
corner.
every street corner.
On every street
So
corner.
good. Like you said that like it was a bad thing.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I would love that. I love tacos.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Agreed.
Natalie Manahan asks, if you could cross over any One Piece and literary character to hang out with, who would it be and why? She puts a picture of Pippi Longstocking in there.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
We've already gotten a lot of literary allusions in One Piece. I mean, you have Alice
It'd be funny if,
Wonderland in this arc, yeah.
It'd be funny if like Luffy and the crew ran into like King Arthur or like people who are going on a completely different different journey. I feel like that's that scene in Hot Shots Part 2 with Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen going up and down the river. I love you at Wall Street.
Yeah, I'd like to see some medieval knight characters.
Yeah, that's true.
I always thought there should have been a crew traveling along the red line, like across the top, like some bandits. But
Well, the world government probably would make that pretty hard.
I'd
I
say
know they're not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know they're not strictly literary characters, but I'd like to see Wyatt Earp or Annie Oakley or some famous cowpokes.
I think
we did kind of had the Western Island.
We kind of had Agatha Christie too,
yeah.
with the sea train plus the Water 7 stuff with the mystery and like what's going on.
Yeah,
That's true. Plus, Baron Tamago looks like Hercule Poirot.
we haven't Huck Finn reference. Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's
Yeah.
true.
It's Michael and
Pretty
Mike.
cool.
Michael and Hoykle.
Michael and Michael. Oh my God, and his name's Hoykle.
Okay. Oh man, we've discussed this a bit, but I like the way she worded this question. Abigail Carvajal asks, Sanji's sister, what do you think is her deal? Possible ally or as big a piece of shit as the rest of them?
All right, let's go down.
So if you have other thoughts about Reiju, now's the time to air them
So
out.
let's go down one by one. Piece of shit or ally? Those are the only two choices.
Whoa, those are the only two choices?
Alex, pick
Come on.
one. Yeah, that's it.
Come back to me.
Ed?
Ally.
Steven?
I'm still cynical from Monet, so I'm going to say piece of shit.
I just really want to hear Steven say that. Miles?
Someone said it could have been her who beat up the cook. I've been just thinking piece of shit in my head. That's really upsetting to me, so I like it.
It's a good theory, yeah. For that reason.
I'd like for her to be a piece of shit, but she might be an ally.
That's you were literally not answering the Bryan.
Fine. I'll say ally. Fuck.
He's so angry about it. Bryan.
I'm so this is not fair.
It's hard for Alex to make choices. I'm really hoping she's a piece of shit.
I'm going with shit. I'm going with the shit.
right.
Ed.
All right. Next question. Not so much question, but Munchie the Panda went back to his tweet from July 25th to point out that he called the Vince Smoke kids being artificially made, possibly. So, good for you, man.
Well, we don't know if it's true yet. You should have
put it
pointed.
around.
You should have pointed this out next week when it's confirmed, if it's confirmed.
When you said Vince Smoke kids a second ago, I thought you said the Flintstone kids.
Oh god, that was a terrible show.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for the theme song right now.
So 90s, or maybe late 80s.
I think it was late
I think it
80s.
was-
Yeah. What's next, Ed?
Drew Carmian asks, if you were Sanji, how would you get off Whole Cake Island with Luffy and the crew in One Piece? See what I did there?
Well, that's what he did there.
Yeah. I'm reading the question.
I don't know. I mean, this is what's fun about Oda. Like, he puts his characters in situations. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to get out of this outside of just beating people up.
I'm kind of worried that even if they do get off in One Piece, Zeph won't. So I like the way this arc is going. I have no idea what's going to happen.
I feel like Zeph is super strong. Am I the only one who thinks like? I feel like the rest of you guys.
Traveled
Like,
Grand Line.
right, but he did leave
well,
in the
he was-
middle. Yeah.
He was kind of getting worked over by Don Krieg, so I don't know how much that.
Yeah.
Sneak attack.
Okay, I stand corrected. I think he probably was extremely strong, though. But what's next?
Yo.
Ed?
Teaming up with Big Mom seems to be the way, somehow, or at least helping her against the Vince Smokes.
I agree. That's how I see it.
Yeah, the next question was actually from Turkey Al-Mutairi, who asked basically that question as well, so we will continue on. Miranda Williams would like us to, in honor of Talk Like a Pirate Day,
no.
do a pirate impression.
Now, are we doing a 4Kids pirate, a early Viz manga pirate, or a current
Any
One Piece?
pirate.
Oh yeah, we should have said that right off the top. Happy Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Well, by the time this comes out, it will be the day after Talk Like a Pirate Day, which I don't know what that's called. But
Yar, it be the day after Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yar, the hot pants.
This day's offensive to pirates.
This chair be high, says I.
It's hiding the D from the health inspector.
You live by the ghost,
Where-
you die by the ghost.
Where's the rum? I say. Where's the rum? I say as a pirates because pirates talk like everybody else.
A pirate voice is like an Irish accent, except it's gruffer and yeah.
Everything I do is fair use.
That's great.
All right. Okay. Patrick Rizzolo asks, hey, One Piece podcast, which One Piece character is your dream date and who gets the dud?
He looks just like you, Poindexter.
anyone?
I didn't get the question. What was it again? Sorry.
Who's your One
Your
Piece
One
dream
Piece-
date? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I answered this. It's Tashigi. No question. Done.
Nico Robin, not even close.
I
Yeah.
guess that's
Yeah.
I think Nico Robin is like almost everybody. It's just about everybody's dream girl.
Dud. Who's my dud?
Oh.
Corona.
Yeah, Verona.
Shir-
Are we going to
Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi.
Shirahoshi.
Yeah.
Very, very,
I don't mind big girls. She's just too big.
Lola, she's too clingy. She's too much of the marriage. Right there. Okay. Next question comes from 91 Ryan. If the Straw Hats had jobs in the real world, what would their jobs be?
Sanji would be a chef.
Yeah.
Good job, Miles.
Really clever guys.
Luffy would work for the Social Security office.
Frankie would
Robin's
do
definitely a leper.
Frankie would work for Harley Davidson or something along those lines.
No, he'd work for one of those reality shows about choppers, West Coast choppers.
Yeah.
Is that?
No, he'd be Extreme Makeover Home Edition. He'd make the house in a week.
Am I
Brooke would
right?
work at a neighborhood haunted house for Halloween.
And he'd get scared
Zoro-
out of his mind doing it.
Zoro would be a lumberjack.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
sleep
good.
all. Oh well, he'd
I
sleep
think
all
I
night.
can-
Work all day.
I can actually imagine Brooke working at a marijuana dispensary. Like the rest of the year. You can
Yeah,
still
why
do the
is that?
Halloween thing around Halloween time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that in Strong World where he like does the gag with the cigarette and the smoke coming out
Oh,
of
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
streets?
Yes.
And he holds it like a joint.
I thought that was.
He does.
Yeah, that was Strong World.
He is after all a musician with an afro, so there's a
Yes,
stereotype.
that's true.
Nami would be a professional Instagram model. I
Yep.
feel
Is
like.
that a thing?
She would be an influencer,
Yep, that's a
whatever
thing.
the fuck that is.
Yes.
I mean, whatever the heck that is.
Or she could also just be like a cartographer if those still exist.
Boring.
Chopper would be a reindeer.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
Low hanging fruit, you guys. Brooke could also
Robin
be a whale watcher. Like a whale marine biologist.
pay
Marine
people?
biologist.
For that? Oh yeah, they pay people to whale watch. That was like a touristy thing.
I
Like-
wish.
Come to Maine and you'll whale watch, and we'll pay you to do it.
yeah, but now I've got the idea of Brooke and Jotaro Kujo going to school together.
Oh, I like it.
What would Luffy be?
Oh man,
That's
I don't know if
Professional
Luffy,
eater.
Luffy couldn't have a job. He'd be one
Yeah.
of those.
He'd be Kobayashi.
He's unemployable.
He's the captain of the ship. Why not?
Who's watching
But
TV?
like, what kind of ship?
Yeah, you wouldn't
be
want
like
him absolutely running a ship,
A
though.
relationship.
Can we go to the next
Hong
question?
Okay. Well, this last set of questions comes from our very own Chow, who asks, when do you think we will be getting Virgo's backstory on his escape from Germa? Do you think that the lookalike symbols in this chapter were to make up for Whitebeard's original Jolly Roger? And is Sora Captain America? To an extent, does that make the U.S. the world government?
No, and maybe.
The last one really is the best question.
I mean, first off, the Whitebeard Jolly Roger thing, that was supposed to be the Buddhist symbol. The Manji, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
I don't
There's a
think-
certain point at which symbol is kind of irredeemable.
Right. This at least is a reference of a reference to, what you're talking about there.
And they're the bad guys.
And they were the bad guys. Whitebeard was, technically, I guess, kind of a bad guy, but mostly the
He
good
was
guy.
a pirate.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Well, speaking of how sometimes the government is the bad guys, the world government is unequivocally the bad guys in this story, kind of.
I think we'll find out if the U.S. is the world government on November 8th.
Seriously.
He does look like one of the world nobles. He's got the neck
true.
for it.
Yeah.
God
Yeah,
damn
his
it,
hair could do a weird, swoopy, stupid thing.
He
Yeah,
actually
you know
should
he
be
would
in,
breathe his own air.
he should be in Germa, if anything.
Nah, he's not in good enough shape to be in German.
Well, he's the one who got stuck to the side of the tube. For the Futurama reference there.
Good times. But that's it for Piece the Tweet.
Okay, that's I think we got through everything this week. That's pretty cool. So why don't we round off? What?
Everything's wrapped up in a nice little package.
Yes. So why don't we round off the podcast? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Sure am.
This has been episode 436 of the One Piece podcast for September 19th, 2016. I want to thank you all for coming on the show. This was a great episode, great chapter. And lots of cool stuff happening in the One Piece podcast and One Piece world. You could, of course, check out new episodes of One Piece every Saturday on Crunchyroll. The anime was actually off this past week due to a special for Kochikame that aired last week, which that was cool. I hope there is an anime for it one day. It was just that 1 hour special, I think, it's all that's aired anytime recently. It comes back next week, so the Zoe arc continues, and it's been pretty damn amazing in the anime, if I do say so myself. If anyone has not had a chance to watch, you should do it. Also, in the coming weeks, we're going to be at New York Comic Con. Steve Yurko, who is not with us here today, but will be here at some point in the future, will also be at the convention, hopefully others. So that is going to be on Bryant Park the Saturday of New York Comic Con at 2 p.m. Eastern. So join us there. And I think that's just about it. We're going to have Minovsky on next week. That's going to be exciting. And I think that's everything that's going on in the One Piece podcast world. But what's going on in your guys' neck of the woods? Miles, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Anything going on with you that you'd like people to know about?
The Crunchyroll fall rollout is, I think, next week, and we're going to be announcing all of our shows, or at least most of them, and really excited about the fall anime season and more One Piece. Thank God One Piece is not ending, because everything else is.
When is JoJo's Part 4 coming to a conclusion soon? I hope not. I'm still catching up on it. I'm like 7 episodes behind or something.
I think it got spoiled that that's a full 39 episodes, so we got one more core of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, Miles, anytime. Love having you on. Brian from Rick and Morty. How's it going? How's Rick and Morty going, Brian?
It's going great. Okay. So yeah, it's going fine. Yeah, we're working on season 3 right now. The episodes I direct of Teen Titans Go have started to air, and I also have to mention that another show I directed on called Right Now Kapow is airing on Disney Channel tonight. Warner Brothers produced, Disney airing on Disney XD. So check that out. It's a skit variety show. And then you can use that to buy the time for Rick and Morty. You can watch those shows. I don't care. I don't get paid. I get paid either way.
So when you say tonight, you mean Monday night?
Yes, Monday night.
So you've all missed it.
Already aired.
The more that you watch, the more that Brian might get paid in the future.
But if you have cable, check on demand.
Thank you for coming on, Brian. Steven, where can people find you?
You could follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus. I've just been up to my ass in work, and I am trying to get through all of it. So come and feel my, torture vicariously through the magic of social net media. Yeah.
And Alex, where can people find you?
As per usual, you all can find me on various modes of social media at Dude! Yeah, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, fine. If you're in the Baltimore area this weekend, Super Art Fight Baltimore is going to be happening. That would be for Saturday night in Baltimore. I will be debuting my new character, Two Drink Alex, which is actually not really a new character if those of you have ever socialized with me. And if you can come out to that, that'd be a fun show. Also, listen to Toho Yaro with me and Joey Weiser and Scott Dryman. Our last episode was Miyamoto Musashi.
Samurai 1, yes.
Yep, and this next episode that we're going to be recording soon should be plopping around October 1st is House. So we're getting in the Halloween spirit by watching an old creepy Japanese movie. So
nice.
I haven't actually never seen House, so this should be very interesting. The other two have.
Man.
Yeah, I've heard bad things.
It's a trip.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, listen to 20 minutes of bullshit, will ya? We have like 4 episodes in the can that haven't been released yet for whatever reason. So
Steve is in the process of editing those and some Schmaltz episodes, so hopefully those will be out soon. And please, Toho Yaro is also on iTunes, and there's a website for it, tohoyaro.onepiecepodcast.com. Check that out. We have lots of podcasts.
Let me just, can I just drop this line from the House Wikipedia article? Obayashi recalled that his producer told him that Toho was tired of losing money on comprehensible films and were ready to let Obayashi direct the House script, which they felt was incomprehensible. So,
sounds great. Is that on Hulu or anything? Do you know? Or, dude?
It's a Criterion film,
So
I
probably
think.
is.
So, yeah,
For
they
another
have
week
it.
or two.
Oh
Be
yeah.
careful.
So now's the time to do it.
October.
it's a good thing we're giving people the heads up right now.
Yeah, now's the time if you wanna listen along to an incomprehensible Japanese film. So yeah, thank you all for coming on the show. Ed, how could the good people out there contact us?
Well, you are Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. Festizio. The podcast can be found at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. One Piece Podcast is our Skype name. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Reddit.com/r/OnePiecePodcast. Leave us some feedback there. Support us on Patreon, Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on Google Play, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, or call us on our phone number. Zach?
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
It's
With
time.
your questions, your comments, your theories, and your floor meat, please send that along to me or Ed. I think either of us would take that.
Or meat.
Thank you guys for coming to the show. Next week, new manga recap, new anime recap, and a lot of fun. And Piece Together. There will be Piece Together next week. Don't worry. So, for the One Piece Podcast, everyone, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And my name is Alex.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Ooh, floor meat.